Hey, welcome back to the Brink of Reality podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Brink, sitting in the chat, as always, here to bring you the very first episode of Australian Survivor Redemption, which is finally here. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about this. This is a special podcast. Today, I'm chatting with the host of Australian Survivor, David Gennat, or Gennat, even really bad. I should get that correct. Let me know in the chat. I think it's Gennat. Let me know. But I'm chatting to David, and this is a really cool one. I chatted with David today in preparation for tonight's episode, which I was lucky enough to watch over the weekend. So had a bit of a pre-screening of the first episode, which I thought was really great, to be really honest. And I'll give you some thoughts on the back end of this chat with David. I do ask him a little bit about the minutia of the episode. We talk about some things that have been happening more broadly in the Survivor community, his role as host. I am fascinated what people actually think about his night one. I genuinely thought it was really strong. And it's funny because you hear this conversation in the chat that I have with David himself, but I really did wonder whether we would have a bit of a divergence away from the current Australian Survivor model, but it did seem pretty firm. Even at the very end, I was a little surprised that they had the final words, which really originate with JLP back into the producer at the time, David Forster, as well. So I'm curious that they kept that aspect of the episode as is. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what people think about that as a broad sense. I will talk about my winners picks and everything else, and also some reflections on the four returnees and some standout players from the newbies. But I'm going to play my chat first with David, and then at the end, let me know what you think. And I will say at the start of this podcast, as I say at the start of every new season, thank you firstly for checking this out again. I super appreciate that. If you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good podcast apps. But I'm also going to post these onto YouTube this season. So if you are there and you want to subscribe, my goal is to get to 500. So that would be super helpful for that and for US Survivor, which I'm going to try and do unspoiled for all of you this season in the feed. So I will be posting the US Survivor plus US Survivor exit chat unspoiled. So let me know your thoughts around that. But how cool. Redemption story. Let me know your redemption arc and let's press play.
Yeah, good, good. I feel like I've been missing your path for a while. So I actually went out and tried to get the buff the other night. I missed it by like 5 minutes. I was devastated. Devastated.
Did you knew where it was?
I knew exactly where it was. I live like 10 minutes from Adelaide and I saw your story. I was like, oh fuck, I'll go get it. And then I got there and I
Yeah,
must have just missed it. And I was like,
dude.
deadly.
Adelaide was funny. That one went really quick because
Yeah.
me and Nick were actually being pretty sly about it.
Yeah.
Like for Sydney, George, we couldn't be sly. We were in Bankstown, and everyone was like, "Dude, chasing us around." So it was a bit hard.
No, it's hard. Can I just say, it's been actually really great the amount of promotion you're doing for the show prior to the show. And I know you have been really gracious of Jonathan and his role previously, but it's actually one of the things I'm really excited about this new era of Survivor is that I feel like we've got a host who's present with the fans, connected to what we're doing, promoting the show really positively. So just full props, man. Like, super
Thanks,
appreciate it.
man. I mean, I always found like, and just as a contestant, like if it wasn't for the fans of the show, man, we wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah.
So I love that fandom because I've been a part of it, and it's yeah. So anything I can do, and it's really fun. It's like super fun talking to people about it, you know.
Yeah, look, as you know, like I've been covering the show since day one. Like I love Australian
Yeah, I
Survivor. It's so
know.
it's so interesting, like with this like quote new era of Survivor. I'm like genuinely pumped for it. Can you
Yeah,
talk a little bit about, from your perspective, you're the first English speaking player to go on and then host a show of
yeah,
Survivor. Can you talk
yeah.
about like what you bring to the show, I guess, as a person who's been a player who's now also hosting the show?
I think probably the thing, Ryan, is I can be a bit more of a mentor.
Yeah.
So in my position now where I am, like the guys are playing and I've been there. So if they get into like hard spots or things, sorry mate, my voice is shot.
No, you're fine, man.
Apologies. If they get into hard spots, I can go, hey, I've been there. And I've done that at 45 days. I've done it at 50. Like I know how hard it gets. So it probably gives me a little bit more empathy. I really felt like I wanted to look after them on challenges because I'd been through those things. I'd been hurt on challenges, so
Yeah.
I wanted to play hard, but I wanted them to be safe, and I could kind of guide them a bit better through that. And then also, I think I know what I wanted in terms of facilitation for gameplay. And
Yeah.
sometimes I felt a little bit like, oh, my spot was being blown as opposed to like masking it. So I really just tried to play with them, like facilitate the game for them and be like, oh, you telling me a fantastical story, make it believable for them, and I will let it happen.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of fun to be on that side of it. And whilst I wasn't a part of that game, they could almost use me like a piece. If they were good, if they had tribal craft was good, I was down. Like, you want to play? Let's go. You feed me the story, I'll buy into it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that aspect.
So I'm going to release this post episode one.
Yeah.
So tonight this will come out after the episode. I've seen episode one, so
What'd you think?
I thought it was excellent. I've got some feedback for you as well if you're open to hearing it as well.
Yeah.
So I thought episode one was really strong. Love the returnee arc, which I think is really good. The concept of like the bounty tribe as well is an excellent idea. Coming back, it's interesting because when you're stepping into that day one, like, are you feeling the nerves? You're heading into that challenge. You're seeing the players walk up to you. Like, what's that like for you? And I love like the byplay with someone like Brookie, who you've been with in the past.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like?
I got a bit emotional. And I remember kind of seeing the guys come out. And for me, this is now this full circle moment of like Survivor changing my life completely as a
Yeah.
contestant. And then ending up in that hosting role. And on top of that, seeing a couple of my friends walk out on the mat, it was such a pinch me unbelievable moment. And I kind of got a little choked up. And there's a lot of new stuff happening, right? We could rehearse for a year and it would still, like, the moment is so big as it's happening, you can't rehearse for that. So there was a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff about remembering my lines going on and camera positions and doing that kind of stuff. And I kind of got a little bit, and I've obviously been stuffing down a lot of emotion over the last, last year. I couldn't tell anyone I've won all that money for like 8 months. So you kind of get this bubbling emotion, and there's that. I really felt it rising up. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna like, so, but I had to stuff it back down. And like I did on the first day I played Survivor, I just kind of said to myself, like, man, just take this in because it goes so quick. Those first moments, especially the first time you walk out as a contestant, it's really easy to get locked into this thing where you're not noticing things and the cameras, and there's like the immensity of what you're about to take on.
Yeah.
Just slowed myself down and tried to really take it in and enjoy seeing their faces coming out and what the effect was, and then getting to play with the energy of being host. Because I affect their experience. You know, they walk out, they see me, I'm standing there, I can play off them, I can give them a bit banter, I try to make them laugh, I try to say something serious. It was so fun, like finding that at the start. And then that's the first time. Like, we get better and better and better as the season goes on. And it was a lot of fun.
Well, I've chatted to a few people who were out there with you, and the feedback has all been hugely positive. And I think when you go back and you look at someone like Jeff Probst, season one, even Jonathan, season one, like their progression arc, I think you're already ahead of the game in so many states compared to that, man. Yeah. So I'm really fascinated to what you bring personally to the show, because my viewpoint of view, I'm a giant nerd of Survivor. I love Survivor. I created my own, what I call the Survivor pyramid. It's the ranking of the top 50 players in Australian Survivor history. You have been number one for 5 years, and quite clearly number one. I think you are the golden god, the best. But then, like, when you step into the role as a host, your strengths has always been the IVs, the confessionals, the ability to, tell the story, tell the narrative. I don't know if it's going to play out this season. I know this year coming, there's speculation of 2 seasons coming up, and that's great. But with you as the host, what can you bring that's different to Australian Survivor? Because I felt like first episode, I was really proud of you, man. I thought you did a great job, stepped in there, you played the role as the host. I started to feel a little bit of like, okay, this is going to be David's style. But is there a way that we can evolve Survivor to have you like break the fourth wall, do confessionals like during parts of the show, maybe at challenges or at the tribal council after or pre? Like, is there any way that we can shift the game to make it to bring you on board, or do you want to just be the facilitator?
I can get what you're saying. Look, for me now, the players are front and center. I
Right.
think the reason Survivor is the show that it is it gives the players a chance to create something inside our format.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not. I'm facilitating. I'm hosting. I just don't see it going in that direction because for me, I want other players to come up and be at the top of that pyramid, Ryan. Like I would love to lose my spot at the top of your pyramid. As crazy
Same.
as it sounds.
Same. No, I get it.
Yeah. So from my perspective, if I'm finding a player that wants to play, I think the advantage I have is I'm not playing with them, but I can give them the hooks and the banner and maybe like just kind of spur them on to be a little bit better than they would have been. But I want players to come in and I want to lose that spot. I want to find every season someone better that can be like, I did it. And so yeah, I mean I get what you're saying. I think maybe at some point there's some room to do some fun stuff like that. But right now, the players for me are the 100% the focus. I've had my time as a contestant,
Yeah.
and I want others to succeed and rise to the top of that pyramid.
Talk to me a little bit about the Dondi into Survivor into finding out period mid-year last year. What a crazy period for you, man.
Yeah.
Like I watched the 12, 13 episodes of Dondi. I thought you were like it was elite TV. I don't think we've seen
Thanks.
better TV in general, like of yourself and Pav. Jumping into Australian Survivor and then finding out that you're going to be the host. Can you talk about that time frame a little bit and how where your head's at in all of this? Because like you just won, I don't even know how much money, a shitload of money. Like Survivor, you're not doing this for the money.
Well, there was definitely when I came back for AU World, and I came back because of Pav.
Yeah.
There was definitely I think the second night where I was laying under the shelter and it was starting to rain. It only lasted 3 hours, but there was some rain dropping on me, and I stepped back and I was like, "Why are you doing this, dude? You're rich." So anyway, going out early was a blessing in disguise. I sure we're not
Yeah.
spoiling our audience knows, but it was more about the enormity of what they accomplished with World that I was just so happy to be a part of it. I obviously would have loved to have gone further in the game,
Yeah.
but just the lead up to it and the hype from the fans and to get a chance to play with Pav again, we never quite got there, was amazing. But 25 for me, just I blinked, man. It was done, and then I'm hosting. So everything was just moving so fast last year. I was traveling like crazy, bouncing around, working stuff with NBC, stuff with 10. But it's kind of like a dream come true. I've always wanted to be in this space. I've not always wanted to host Survivor, but I wanted to host television and to be like I think Australian Survivor is the best job in TV. I love what I do. And so yeah, it's kind of like dream come true, you know?
I'm probably one of the rare people that actually watched most of Rush.
Yeah.
What did you take from that hosting experience?
Oh, we got about 600,000. Yeah. What are you talking about?
No, I'm one of those. Yeah, it was a good show.
What did you want?
I know. I thought it was like it was all right. I watched the first couple of episodes. I thought you did a good job. But like,
Thanks,
what did you take from that experience of hosting into
just in terms of like working with production and having lines and seeing how that side of things works. So Rush, I mean, we had a pretty tight knit crew. It was like maybe 55-ish of us doing it together. They became a kind of like a very family style vibe because it was such a hard undertaking to be traveling. We did like 9 countries. 9 weeks was the film schedule. So everyone got really, really close. But it gave me a better understanding of like camera positions, working with a story team, like how we shape narrative. And so some of that I definitely took across to Survivor, but the benefit was I had the same DOP. So the director of photography is the same. A lot of our producers are the same. And so then on day 1 of Survivor, I just felt really at ease because I trusted them already. You know, not that I didn't trust them, but when you're a contestant, you can get a little bit out there where you're kind of like in your own head about like, are they out to get me? But I had 100% trust in the team. And the team is much bigger. We're 500, strongest now.
Yeah.
So it was on a much bigger scale, but it was just easing in and like knowing these people personally. And maybe I felt a bit more pressure with Survivor because now I also like I want the show to succeed. Because I love Survivor, but I'm so invested in all these Aussies who work in it and make money from our show and have families and are providing for them. So you do feel that kind of like I'm not they're like extended family for me now, and I'm like, oh, I want this to be a success because we want to keep making it. I want to keep putting food on people's tables, you know. So it just like leveled everything up.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's so important as well. It's that stuff that we don't always see is like how important this show is for the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, man, like how big this is just as a product. Um, it's interesting because I spoke about this in the podcast years ago about, I'd heard whispers that you had screen tested for the COVID era of Australian Survivor. Like your name has been there post that first block that you had, season 4,
Yeah.
season 5. I look at season 6, that COVID era into Australia versus world is kind of the second era of Australian Survivor, and this next era that you're starting is the third era of Australian Survivor. What is it about hosting, I guess, this show and like going back? Do you have any stories about screen testing back in the day and then coming back and now actually hosting the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'd studied acting in New York. I'd been modeling. I went into commercials, studied theater, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was wanting to be a dramatic actor. So I've done a lot of auditions, like a lot, right? And of the 1,000 auditions I've done, I've hit a few.
Yeah.
So you see the ones you
Yeah.
hit, and it's very easy to be like, oh, this guy pops up and he's doing this and that. But there's all this work that goes into it behind the scenes. And I think for me, it was a real lesson, like in just the tipping point of doing the work. Because the auditioning process, you get better. You kind of got to like it. If you are wanting to act or you've got to like auditioning. And not everyone has to like it, but there's got to be something in it that excites you. Otherwise, it's the worst experience in the world. I've
Yeah.
had horrible, horrible auditions. I've had terrible screen tests. I've done things where I've walked out and been like, I should not be in this job. But there's like, so once you kind of start getting used to that pressure with all those auditions, for it to finally tip over is a fantastic feeling, you know?
Yeah.
So it felt for me like I had achieved a goal. And I wouldn't say my getting into acting, my end goal was hosting Survivor, but once that was kind of on my radar, knowing that like the auditioning and the work and putting in and that process of like trying to get better at what I'm doing got me there in the end feels very satisfying. And it also showed me that like the process works. Sometimes you just have to trust it and do that stuff and it'll come good in the end. But also not to give up, man, because
Yeah.
there was plenty of times like I was really down, really up, really down. I mean, even after Rush got cancelled, I was like, I'm out of TV. I can't do it anymore. I've been trying to make this thing happen for a very long time, and I just like I don't think I want to act or perform. I don't want to do any of this anymore, and I nearly gave it up. And then Dondi came along,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
Yeah, look, I'm such a big believer in saying yes to opportunity, sliding door moments, take it when it happens, and
100%.
like that's what you did, and that's what came through. And I think it's been your, I guess, your presence on screen for a long time as a Survivor fan that has stood the test of time, and I think it's really cool. I just think it's such a cool evolution for the show to go through. Potentially new locations coming up, more seasons. Like, I'm glad you're in that box seat, man. I don't want to get in trouble, so I won't say where, but it's interesting. Like, I know where, but I won't say where.
You
Yeah.
sneaking.
The episode 1, obviously you get to snuff Daniel's torch in the end of the first episode, man. Like, what is that like, snuffing the first person? Like, is it, you always remember your first? How was that first experience for you?
You really do. I mean, it was so intense, right? Because like also, I've just come off my first tribal,
Yeah.
where I'm throwing things out, trying things, like figuring out how people are responding and trying to ride that energy wave, and also trying to find my tone at tribal. I
Yeah.
think we did a good job in the first one, but like you're trying to find how you want it to be, and you don't want it to be too jokey, and you don't want to be too serious. Like there's kind of like this sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it takes a little time to like find that, even at tribal, because it's so intense for the guys. They've been doing all this crazy stuff, and then they walk in, and I'm standing there, hands on hips. I'm like, this is church. Let's take this seriously and go, but we also need some brevity, So
Yeah.
there's things you got to hit. But for me, the as a player, getting the torch snuffed there was so much finality in that. Well, not finality for everyone, but for me when I got snuffed, that I knew the gravity of that moment for me as a player, and I wanted it to be very important for the person that was leaving.
Yeah.
Didn't want to phone it in. I wanted them to make them feel like this is a big moment for you, and this is like you didn't make it to the end, but just pay respects to the game you've just played. And so I really wanted to. I looked them directly in the eye every time, and I kind of just delivered the line. The tribe has spoken, and made sure we got a good snuff. To be fair, on our first exit, I did not get the torch out. I'm like very like, man, just conveying this energy to him, and I'm like, tribe has spoken, and it just didn't go out. So I had to do it. I had to do it again, and then nailed it. But yeah, I think it's so people in there. It's the game is so important, and to me, it was so important. And it's easy to sometimes think, be like, it's just TV, you're writing it off. But I wanted it to feel big for them, because it felt so big for me when I went out. There's so much riding on it. It's $500,000, but it's also more than that. It's like their chance to play the game they loved. And snuffing is it's a horrible but necessary part of the game.
No, it's such a big part. I'll leave you one last question. I asked this to all the people I interview, GG. It's about gratitude. Obviously, your year, it's been crazy, and the Survivor journey for you has been wild. But what are you grateful for in this moment? Premiere today. This podcast will come out after the first episode. What are you grateful for from this whole Survivor experience ride you're currently on?
I mean, man, I have more gratitude than I even know what to do with, because Survivor has just given me like my whole career in life now. Like Dondi doesn't happen without Survivor. Like becoming a Survivor player and playing this game, which I love, has given me everything. And so I guess I'm just like really grateful for the people who are willing to give me a chance on this season and come along on that journey, because I love the fans of the show. And I think, stick with me. And there's a lot of people who have been like we're going to give him that chance to see what he can do. Hopefully a lot of people tonight. And so I'm just so grateful for the people who are invested. And to be honest, like for the fans that like interact, for people like you, Brian, that like make this kind of content so that we can continue to do what we do for free for the viewers. Because without you guys, there's no community, and there's not that there's not that interest that exists that you can take it to another level. And I think with Survivor, the great thing is like you can watch the show if you want, just casually watch it and be like, that was a great ep and done. But if you are interested in the game and you do want to play, there's so many cool resources. And so I guess I'm just grateful for you guys and all the podcasts and everything you do on your side of things. That's a lot of gratitude.
No, so much gratitude. I'm going to receive it from the Golden God. I feel like the shine is coming up from me, man.
We appreciate you, Ryan. We appreciate everyone who's listening. Me especially, because the fandom has obviously shaped my journey, and super grateful to you guys. I know I can't connect with everyone.
No,
when
of course.
Platform to speak to your listeners. We love you guys. Like we can't do it without you. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. I'll leave it there, GG. But thanks, man, and I super appreciate it. Enjoy the season, enjoy how it plays out, and enjoy the next year of Survivor production and everything that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
thanks, so man. Cool, so
dude,
fun.
Thanks for coming back too. I know you took a break, so it's
no.
You got back into it last season. I was like, yes, and I'm a big Phoebe fan. So
no, I love Phoebes, and like I know you love Phoebes. So it's I'm grateful to come back, grateful to do it. Bloody Simon, I wasn't sure I was going to do this season. Then you came, and then Simon's like, let's record a podcast before we play. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So.
All right, that is my chat with Gigi. Sorry for the pregnant pause there on mute. Good stuff. A Brink, first episode back and already struggling, but huge. Really appreciate 10 Gigi for coming on. There he is for people who are watching the YouTube with the immunity idol. That is one of my commentaries. Everything good this season has done. That immunity idol looks like a dead bonsai. No offense, but what is that thing? So I down on the down votes only for the immunity idol, but the cast themselves, really keen to like talk briefly about them. The demise of Daniel, I feel like he had first boot energy about him, unfortunately. So sorry to Daniel to join the pantheon of first boots, 12 of them in Australian Survivor Modern Era. Of them currently, but it's some great company to be there, from Des Coolty all the way through. I don't know what Dan's downfall necessarily was. I think one of the really interesting things about playing early game Survivor is that if you are a little bit different and you don't necessarily fit in culturally, I guess, with the others, you can stand out. And I don't know how big there was the awkward conversations we saw with the girls where you didn't really know their names. And I hear you. I'm a big proponent of name badges on Survivor for day one because it's really helpful. But I also have name blindness, so I hear him. But it is really hard when you're trying to like decide who you're going to vote off. It's usually the person who's a little bit different. And for whatever reasons, I don't know if it's the religion or the stage of his life, but he was like a little bit different. I did love the red herring though. I thought Cameron was a star for me in this episode. Like really, really liked Cameron. I don't know if I can highlight him more. I can't, but really loved Cameron. Loved his confessionals. His wrestling analogy. As a huge wrestling fan myself, I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't necessarily like some kind of Ric Flair, like to be the man, you got to beat the man. But I thought he was a highlight for me. Trying to take out someone who I actually thought was probably the person who maybe out of the newbies popped out the most, and that was Jackson. I was just confirming I didn't know his name blindness. Jackson I thought was excellent, and as a casting choice. So if I'm going to rank my casting choices, excellent TV. Pops can tell he's a pro wrestler, and it's interesting because obviously we've got can't even remember his name now. Matt, who now goes as Grayson Waller on WWE. And there's a little bit of energy about him. I actually think maybe slightly better energy from Jackson and maybe some gameplay in there. But had Cam been able to get him out on night one, it's arguably the biggest first boot we've had maybe in Modern Era Survivor. It didn't happen. We went with the safe vote, which is definitely the ploy. But if the narrative is setting the ploy that this is going to be where we're headed and Jackson's going to be potentially a first early, maybe pre-merge boot, exciting, really exciting. But the tribe in general, the bounty tribe concept, it is reminiscent of Fiji. We've seen this in the past, the haves and have-nots in like Big Brother and other shows. So I'm fascinated how much of an advantage that is. The other big players, I'm just going to talk about what we saw. Lyndall Huge getting an advantage on night one. It takes me back to Henry in All Stars, getting that advantage at the first challenge. It's a bit of luck, but luck needs to go your way in Survivor. And I think she had it. And it's interesting, her decision to ultimately give Brooke a returnee the advantage information is so fascinating to me. I get why you would choose Brooke. It's someone you know. It's a known entity in terms of the morality that she kind of brings to the game, which has always been excellent energy and like kindness and like loyalty outside of, a little bit with Fleck in the last season, which you understand. But it's a really fascinating one from her standpoint, why she would necessarily go there when it does seem as if the 4 returnees are potentially obvious people to target early in. But I love that for her. I'm interested in how Brooke plays it. Whether there's a swap in the next episode or 2 of an idol would be, I'd be keen to see what that looks like potentially. So I'm not fully sure how that's going to play out, but excited to see how it could play out. The other ones that stood out for me outside that, I can talk about Lottie. Outside the shirt, which I will admit, Lottie, it did give me like slightly the ick. But outside the Loving Hot Dads t-shirt, I thought she was the standout newbie of the cast. And I say that in terms of her gameplay, in terms of her character. I thought she was clearly the standout newbie night one. I thought the 4 returning players all had great games. I'll talk about them individually in a second. But just her awareness of, especially Harry, a little bit on Simon, and her willingness to not necessarily maintain the status quo and to, we don't need to keep both necessarily and to potentially take out one, I think is really good. And what I really liked about her game is sometimes the moves that you make is not necessarily the moves that you make. And what I mean by that is sometimes knowing that you want to make a move, but then holding firm and not making a move in that moment and waiting until the next tribal council or the next tribal council at some point in the future is actually the best move. And I thought that was excellent. So Lottie was probably my secret snake of the night, just for her gameplay. She was the one that I watched this episode a few weeks ago, to be really honest. And then I watched it again yesterday. And that's on Sunday, today is Monday. I'm recording this just before the episode airs. And I just feel like she's the one that stood out to me the most. And I don't know. What about you? Who's the player of the newbies, that 20, that stood out most to you from there? There was a few like really notable ones, but to me, she was like a really like fascinating player. I'm really curious how this goes for her. Johnson also stood out to me. I really like Johnson. You can tell he's got that reality background. And Tez as well, mega super duper fan. I look at that challenge again. If you go back and watch the challenge where they're doing the giant puzzle and pushing the blocks, there's periods where he seems to disappear. Note that. Rewind, go back, look at that. Is he looking for an advantage? I would not be surprised if he was, because he is definitely a fan. So I really like that. Aisha was really cool as well. It's hard. The first night is really challenging. Dave's talking about having 5 kids and homeschooling as a teacher. Full props. Amazing. So cool to that. The newbies did pretty well overall. It's so hard when you got these returning players. I do want to talk about the returnees just quickly as well. Brooke, probably is my leading candidate to win of the returnees. I'd never really make winners picks because I think that winners picks are always flawed. But if I was to make a winners pick after episode 1, I'd probably say Lottie is my winners pick overall currently. Sally had a pretty good edit as well, but I'd probably say Lottie is my winners pick. But out of the returnees, I think Brooke is probably best placed. Already getting advantage from the other tribe. Really well liked, sociable, really like dominant in challenges late in the game. So I can see why she would be like hugely advantageous to getting through. Out of the other ones, Mark did really well in that first challenge. That does make me worry that maybe he is reminding everyone that he is like a sneaky secret challenge beast. He seems to do amazing at all of these challenges. I don't know, like don't judge a book by its cover, but he's actually quite incredible at these challenges. The way he pulled that off at the end, that swinging thing, like how you got that, like I don't still really quite grasp the science behind it, but he did amazing. And then it leaves the other two on the tribe that went to tribal council, Harry and Simon. It really, to me, is a flip of a coin. I have the vibes that one of them probably make it maybe through the swap period, but whether they get to the merge, it's really hard. Both have huge reputations. Harry, I adore. I think his gameplay has stood the test of time in the seasons that he's played. He's always been an excellent player. Strategically, so underrated still, which is crazy to me. I think people acknowledge that he's a good game player, but I don't think they realize how good a game player he is. And I have high hopes. When I looked at the newbies before watching episode 1, back when they were announced, when I did the podcast with Simon, and thank you to everyone who checked that out. I'll talk about that in a sec. But I actually honestly thought out of any returnee, I thought Harry might be my winner's pick. And he still might be. Again, winners picks are so flawed. Who knows? I still think Lottie was probably the standout to me. Brooke from her tribe may be really strong. Harry, the other. I think Harry's really just excellent. So we'll say cat shirt was elite. I tried to find it. Couldn't find it. Elite. Simon. Where do I start with Simon? I look, clearly biased. Thank you to everyone who checked out the podcast in the preseason that I did with Simon. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It is a bit of a story for Simon, a time capsule. He recorded that podcast 9 days prior to playing this season of Survivor, which is not the first time I've done this, but the first time it's been released with a player. So I was really grateful that Simon first shared that he was playing Survivor for the 3rd time, going out there. Like, I think what you saw in the first episode is who Simon is. Like, he is a really lovable, nice person. And I am hopeful that Australia gets to see that more. He does have gameplay. He is strategic. Whether those strategies will play out, I guess we'll see. But he is just a genuinely great dude. and he is a giant nerd, like wrapped in a Superman body, similar to Mark Wales in that way. Like Mark was a giant nerd as well, wrapped in a Superman body, and I think Simon is as well. So I'm curious how he can maneuver his way through. I guess it did seem as if their tribe was aware that, you know, maybe we don't need both of them, and I keep coming back to that line, and to me that's like, maybe the edit is going to definitely show one of them go. I'm hoping not, but we just will see how that plays. But I'd love to know your thoughts. The other red herring is Richard. I never really thought Richard was going to go, but he seems like a cool dude. Was quoting Shakespeare at some point. Impressive. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on social. You can find, I've rebranded the Instagram. It's BOR Survivor. Let me know if you have thoughts about the season. My personal, I guess my photography cage is at Brink of Reality. You can let me know as well. X, if you're still on X, you can find me there at Brink of Reality, and let me know your thoughts on the season, everything that's going on. Your winners predictions, if you do listen on Spotify or you're on YouTube right now, like leave your winners prediction. Bang, 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 bang. Like leave them there in the comments. I'd love to know your winners predictions and kind of get a tally on who people think after night one is potentially going to be the winner. I much prefer to do winners predictions after night one. I think it's way more clear. At least you have some insights. The preseason is just, you have no idea who these people are. Outside of a returning season 50, for example, you can make those predictions, but with newbies, you've got no idea. So watching episode 1 is huge. And hopefully one of those people here on this side of my page is going to be a new winner of Survivor. Well, definitely will be, because there's only newbies and returnees who haven't won. So there'll be a new winner. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the DG Golden God interview as well. I super appreciate Ten and David. I actually had to cancel like twice on them. And they still found a third time to fit me in. So super appreciate that. And let me know your overall thoughts. What do you think of the Golden God as the host? What do you think about this season? What do you think about Redemption as an arc? What do you think about who these players are and who you think the winner is going to be? I am contemplative and curious, but I'm going to lock in Lottie as my winner's pick. Tick, tick, tick. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Let's go for that and hope for the best. All right. Until next time, I've spoken. The community has spoken. I will chat to you probably sometime during the week. I think I'm doing Exapress, and for US Survivor, I think I'm confirmed doing Exapress through Paramount, CBS, Stan now as well. Apparently, that is moving to Stan. I will talk about that on another podcast when I do some Survivor 50 thoughts and takes. But thank you to everyone who's listened, as always. And if you want to listen and watch the interview that I did with DG, that's also going to be on YouTube, so check that one out as well. All right, until next time, the community has spoken. I have spoken. The Golden God has shined his light and spoken to us all. I will chat to you sometime really soon. See ya.